Where possible, we have integrated with the main clinical systems, being TPP and EMIS Web. And for those, the integration is there to try and maximize the use of information that you may have already recorded, to simplify the processes so that when you're interacting with GP billing, it's as easy as possible. So the first thing you'll see is we have something called single sign-on. Nobody wants usernames and passwords. So immediately, as soon as you come into GP billing, it will be able to look at your clinical system log on, understand who you are, and sign you straight into the GP billing product with the necessary roles and permissions necessary to perform the activities that you need to perform within the GP billing system. The second key point is navigation. Everybody wants a really easy system to use. They don't want to have to go and find somewhere within an application in order to perform a function. So everything within GP billing is split between three main dashboards. So we have a billing dashboard, a reporting dashboard, and an administration dashboard. The majority of users within a GP practice will see nothing more than the billing dashboard, which is the one that you come into when you first load the software. So I'm going to start with creating a bill. So I use the big create bill button. And next to the selection here, I have the ability to synchronize with the clinical system to get the current patient, search for a patient, or add a patient if they don't exist within my clinical system. So I'm simply going to synchronize the patient. So I've got a currently selected patient within EMIS Web I'm using here, and it's going to go and get that patient and create them an account within the billing system. What it's also done is to look at the consultation history for this patient, and if there are any mapped non-NHS services for this patient, then it will automatically map those to items within our price list. So for this patient, I can see that there was an event on the 10th of the 4th with this clinician for a sports participation. If I select this item, it will automatically then put a fitness to participate certificate onto my bill, include the price, and I can discount it if I wish. From within here, I can delete this if this isn't the item that I actually wanted to add, and I can use my price list. So here we have an add items button. Within the add items button, you have a predefined price list. So the person there that said they've got a defined price list, this is where you would have that, and you would be able to always go and always make sure you're charging the correct amount at all times. So I can search this price list to filter it down and simply select the item that I want from that price list to put it onto the bill. Within here, I can set who the practitioner was. The benefit of doing that is it does allow you to look at revenue by practitioner, so who's actually generating that revenue within the practice. On the right-hand side, you then have an action button, and that allows you to define what you want to do next with this bill. So in this case, I'm going to post this bill and pay it. So that's going to take this bill, store it onto the system, and allow me to go and take a payment. Now you'll see here that it says that it's going to do a care record confirmation. That means it's going to write back into the care history within EMIS Web that this service had been billed for. That's completely configurable. You can either turn it on or off as a practice, or you can define it based on each individual service that you're billing for. So for instance, you might want to record that information for insurance-based services, but not for things like firearms. If I click on the OK here, it will just confirm, and it will write back to the care record. Just wait for that to complete, and I just get a confirmation there that the bill's been posted and it's been written to the care record. If I go into EMIS Web, I can see that the care record has been updated. If I refresh that care record, I can now see that a bill's been sent, the invoice, when it was sent, what it was for, and for how much. Here within my payment screen, again, the patient is automatically being selected. From here, I can see all outstanding bills for this patient. So if this patient has only part paid for a previous invoice or has managed to leave the practice without paying at all, then you will be able to see all outstanding bills, and you can extend those to see what they're for, and you can part pay or fully pay any of these different items. Simply select the payment method: cash, check, credit card. I'm going to select credit card in this case, and I'm going to generate a receipt for the patient. Again, it's going to go and check the medical systems available. And this is bringing up our integrated virtual terminal. So we work with a number of different providers for virtual terminal. That allows us to take a card payment from within the system. And I'm just going to update the expiry date on that one. Process my card payment. It's been approved. And again, I'm going to write back to the care record to say that this payment had been received. So it's just giving me a confirmation that I'm performing that activity. Okay, and that has now been posted successfully, and I'm then generated a receipt, and this receipt now you can either print out using an A4 printer, or alternatively you can email it using Outlook or whatever email application that you used out to the patient. If I go back to EMIS, I can refresh this, and now I can see on the care history that the bill was paid, what it was that was paid, when the payment was received, what it was for, and how much. So it's a good way of keeping the GPs informed of any billing activity without them needing to use the GP billing system if they prefer not to. Um, every single patient or third party has an account within the billing system. Within this account, you will get a full transactional history. The benefit of that means that you don't have to print out invoices for yourself, store them in Lever Archer files. All of that history is retained and maintained within the system. And at any point, you can go and print, email, or void transactions within that account. We have, we'll go through the second process, which is where we're billing a third party. So in this case, I'm going to just synchronize our patient again to bring them into the system. And whilst it's just bringing that patient up, you will notice now it's again syncing the consultations to see if there's any other mapped items. Because we've already billed for that service, then that's no longer brought back by the synchronize of consultations. So it recognizes any services that it's already billed. Here next to the third party, I can select from a directory of different third parties that I've created, or I can add a new third party into the system. The simplest way to add third parties is we support postcode lookup. So at any time, you can just simply put in the postcode relating to the third party, do a find address, go to the bottom of the list, and you tend to find most of the corporates and companies then listed on there. Select those, and that will create you a new third party within the system. So again, just trying to reduce the amount of time, the amount of steps it takes, improve the accuracy of the data that you've got. I'm just going to simply select Bupa. They may have provided you with an authorization number. We can record that on the invoice, and we can also support anonymized invoices. So if you're sending an invoice from a GDPR perspective to a third party, we can suppress the details about the patient and only include the purchase order number. If we do our add items now, you'll see this price list is completely different. So different entities, depending on who we're billing, can have different price lists, and you can set up any number of different price lists that you wish that you require. I'm just going to select an insurance report here and say, okay, that drops it onto my bill. And again, if I need to, I can amend the amounts or apply a discount. In this case, because we're not going to be able to take a payment straight away, we can go to our post and print option. And again, I've set it to write back to the care record when this item is billed. So it's just going to write to the care record there. Okay, and it's just asking, because I billed Bupa for this patient, just wants to know if I want to make this the default. I'm just going to leave the default as it was, and it will then generate me my my invoice. As I say, I've suppressed the patient information in this example, but included the purchase order number, and again, that can then be printed or emailed off to the insurance company. As I mentioned, not just patients, you can look at it from a company or a third-party perspective. So here, Bupa, we have a full history, and next to each of the different items, you will see tags to see whether they're paid or unpaid, or part paid. You will see details of the who the patient is that this bill relates to, and you will also have notes. So if you've added any notes, then you'll see this little yellow filled in post-it, and you can add any further notes. So if you're doing any tracking of those bills, if you're chasing them up, then you can easily see that on the individual bills. Outstanding bills panel. So this is everything that is outstanding and owed to the practice. So if I go into our outstanding bills, and if I wanted to filter this, I can very quickly go in and say, okay, give me everything outstanding for Bupa, and I can quickly see then all of those outstanding items, including the one that I just generated there. You're receiving a BACS payment from Bupa and it contains multiple payments for different invoices. We can simply go into the pay screen and tick each of those different items that they're paying, record that it was a BACS payment, and we can simply post that into the system because we don't need to provide a receipt to to Bupa, and again it will write back. If I've said I want it to write the care record confirmations, it will write those back to the clinical system, so that there's a record there of those payments. The third example I want to very quickly go through, and conscious of our time, is businesses. So here I have an invoice that I've created as a template for this business. So this is held within draft bills. You can create any number of draft bills. They could be held as part of a workflow process. So for instance, you could create the bill when the appointment's made and then just process it when they come into the practice. In this scenario, I'm simply using a template bill that I've created. I'm going to copy this one because I use it every single month, and I can simply then put in here the charges for that month. So for June 2023, however much it was that I wanted to charge them for their room hire, and then I can post and print that. So again, it's just another quick way of being able to simplify that billing process, but equally it means that people don't necessarily have to remember the costs or the items or the services that you bill for them. For each of the different accounts within the system, you can also add alerts. You'll notice at the top that there is an alert that appears whenever I bring the patient into the system. So here you can see an example alert. So we're currently expanding that capability so that you can use it for task management. So after the bill's been paid, for instance, if you want to, you can create an alert in there to say that you've got a piece of work that you've passed off to somebody else in the practice to do, and then you can centrally manage those alerts by within the administration section. So I can see the alerts here, but within the administration section, I can go into our central alerts management, and within here, I can see all alerts within the system and centrally see what that workload looks like. Reports. So we have a whole host of different reports that are available to you. The first are reconciliation reports. This allows you to see money that or bills that have been generated. So for instance, I can see our 2 bills from here. You're able to filter any of these different reports, or you have the ability to export it to Excel. So if you want to share it with the accountant or somebody else in the practice, then you can do that. So we have reports for the services that you, or for the invoices that you've raised, the payments that you've received. So again, if I look at these and I wanted to see all of my BACS payments, I can filter that down and see all of my BACS payments and reconcile that back to the bank if I need to. We also have an age debt report. This allows you to see a full breakdown of all age debt. So this is everybody that owes you money, and it does allow you to bulk select these and generate statements to be sent out. So you don't need to go into each individual account, use the reports to then bulk select and generate those documents. VAT, if you're VAT registered, it will give you all of the details about any VAT that you've collected, obviously useful when posting your VAT. And we can also integrate into Sage, QuickBooks and Xero. So we have an export function that puts the data into the format necessary to bring that back into your accounting system. So again, trying to reduce the amount of effort within your accounting for the accountant, so all of that revenue is recorded within there. Administration, so you have full control. The system comes configured with a lot of different access profiles. You can synchronize all your users through from your clinical system. You can synchronize your configuration through from the clinical system. So again, we're trying to reduce the amount of time it takes to get set up and start benefiting from the system. Your pricing, again, we have a template that can import a default template with all of the mapping of all of the different SNOMED codes to each of the non-NHS services. So again, that helps you speed up the onboarding process and getting you up and running. As I mentioned, by service, you can define when you write back to the care record. Very, very easy to use price list where you can configure those services. Bulk bill import, and this allows me to take a report from the clinical system and import it into GP billing to automatically create bills. So it will do some validation first. It will just check to see that those codes are all mapped properly as they should be for each of the different consultations. It will then tell me those ones that have passed or have been posted. So it serves 2 purposes. One is that it can automatically create those bills for you, and the second is that it can check that you haven't missed any bills. So if it identifies there a SNOMED code for a patient that's for a non-NHS service that hasn't been billed, that would appear in here, and then you can automatically create the bill and have that sent out. We have online chat. Online chat allows you to talk to our help desk and get immediate answers or help with the system. We have a support form that you can use, and we have a knowledge center. And that knowledge center has all sorts of information within it. If I go into our knowledge base, you will see there are quick start guides, there are user guides, there are videos and walkthroughs of every single part of the system that helps you learn it in the first instance, albeit we do offer an onboarding service. But for new people coming in, or for those that may only need to bill a patient, then they can just watch the video and get started.